After I got out of school, my wife and I were in the Peace Corps in Iran, and it's a very dry place. There are some wet places, but we lived in Isfahan and in Mashhad, both of which are on the edge of the desert. And the thing that I was just blown away by was the trees in these cities. They both had really good collections of street trees and park trees in very hot desert environments. Trying to figure out, how it was that those trees got watered, and just learning how you could use trees in the landscape. And both of these cities, Mashhad was 11th century, and Isfahan, by and large, was 17th century. So we're talking about very old places that had not been, nobody thought about the trees in the way we think about them today. There were boulevards that were built in the 19th century that had a European flavor to it, but by and large, there were just trees everywhere. Iranian cities are all built snuggling up against the mountains, Tehran, Mashhad, Isfahan, Tabriz, and there's a big ridge of mountains that goes along the top of the country, and that's where all the big cities are. So the city starts up along the edge of the hill. The rich people build their houses on the top. There are little springs that come in at the top, and then they essentially build these absolutely dead flat tunnels into the mountain called Qanats, and some of them are 2 or 3 miles long. And the water seeps out and goes through the gardens of the rich people, and then comes down, cascading through a network of channels called jubes that then line all of the streets. And their main purpose is to provide water to the town. So the surface water running through the jube, but it's also the sewer. So as you go down the hill, the water gets dirtier and dirtier. So that if you live at the bottom of the hill, it's quite a different situation than if you live at the top. But all along the jubes are planted trees, and it's that. And then the water runs out into the desert. And in some places, like in Kabul, the last jube goes out 10 miles into the desert along the road to Kandahar. I don't know what it looks like today after the war, but there was a string of trees that just went out into the desert until the last bit of water ran out of the jube, and that's where the trees stopped. So it's really fascinating to see that in their cities. The other thing that, of course, I missed was the fact that these cities were all 300, 400, 500, 600 years old. The soil was still in excellent condition, and what we've learned in desert environments is that you have air, and you put a little water in these soils, and they just grow fabulous plants. And that's what we're seeing. So it all kind of comes back together now to looking at the way we're thinking about stormwater, and we're thinking about water and soils coming together in the landscape. It was always fascinating to me, and bringing that back to my first job after the Peace Corps, working with Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, and bringing some of those ideas, actually bringing them into SOM projects was really fascinating.